CSS in JS is many things, but by its very definition, it is writing styles with JavaScript. However, how does this actually work? What is this really doing? And at a foundational level, what does this really mean? One of the first implementations of CSS in JS was via the way of inline styles. So here we have some HTML code utilizing inline styles. So we have a div wrapper, we have this button, and this button has a style attribute. Inside is this inline style authored as CSS. So what we'll have created here is a button with a red background color that says click me. Now let's take a look at an inline style with React. CSS in JS is a mechanism to inject styles via JavaScript. At its very most basic, inline styles are an implementation of this mechanism. So let's consider this React component. Just like in the previous example, we're using an HTML button. We're still using a style, but now it's a style prop. The style prop will take a JavaScript object, and React will serialize this to a CSS string, just like in the previous example. So the end result will be an HTML button with a red background color, just like in the previous example. This is an implementation of CSS in JS utilizing React and inline styles. However, for a variety of reasons, and in the next section we'll get into why, inline styles have tended to fall out of favor with the advent of libraries like styled components. Styled components is a JavaScript library packaged and distributed with the npm registry. This means that it can be installed and utilized just as easily as with any other dependency. So for example, React, Lodash, etc. They're installed in exactly the same way as style components, just a simple npm install away. Style components' huge innovation was in allowing styles to be authored just as they are in CSS, as CSS. So let's take a look at our first style component. Here we get our first taste of Style Components API. We're utilizing ES 2015 imports to pull our packages from npm and exports. So you'll need something like Webpack or Create React App, which internalizes Webpack, to get up and running with these newer features. If neither of those are tools in your current build tooling toolset, definitely take a look at the end of this video and I'll have some documentation and other helpful tips on getting up and running with these newer functionalities. Now let's take a closer look at Style Components API. It's styled dot and then any valid HTML tag. So button or h1 or h2 or a, any HTML tag is valid here. And what this will create is, in this example, a button with a red background color and an actual HTML button. So when we use this styled component like this, what we'll get is a button that always has a red background color wherever we use it. This is Style Components API. Very simple, but as we'll soon find out, very powerful and very flexible. So now that we have a quick understanding of Style Components API, let's take a deeper dive and look at a live example. So what we have is our previous example, but now we can update stuff and see it live edit. So we can change this background color to blue, to yellow, or back to red, and each time it'll update like we expect. And now we can click on this utilizing our developer tools, and we can get a closer look at the code. So we see here we are generating an actual button, which is what we would expect. However, we aren't utilizing an inline style anymore. Now we see a class, and this class refers to our background color. So what Style Components has done is created a class for us, automatically applied the style that we've given that class, and applied that class to our button. Let's take a closer look at this API. So Style Components top level API is styled dot, and then like we've said, basically any HTML tag, div, button, h1, etc. Some magic happens, and a real style is output with the contents of your styled component, so in our instance background color red, with a unique class applied to it. This is Style Components API. But how does this actually work? How does this magic actually resolve to a real style tag? Let's take a look. So this magic that Style Components is doing is actually pretty understandable. The first thing it does is it calls document.createElement to create a style element. It then appends this style element to our document's head tags. Head tags are where a style element typically goes and lives in an HTML document. Next, this style element has a property called sheet, and sheet itself has an API called insertRule. InsertRule takes a valid CSS and will apply that CSS to our generated style tag. So effectively what Style Components has done is generated a rule with a unique class, added this unique class to our button, and our button will inherit the properties of this unique class. Therefore, we now have a red background color. So this was a really quick introduction to what CSS and JS is, and a higher level understanding of what Style Components is. But just as important as what CSS and JS is what it is not, and in the next section we'll discuss what CSS and JS is not.